and we are live from Kampala's Rene Conference Center. My name is Andrew Chamagero. A few minutes from now, if I could be exact, around 24 minutes, we're going to be having the head of state. According to the tweet that came from the spokesperson of the State House, it was allocated that the speech, the presidential address, would start at around noon. But as so far, we are looking at our 54 cases. As a nation, we're still at 54 cases positive of COVID-19, and we're waiting to hear from the head of state. A couple of you are already online, and you're expecting the president to talk about a few issues you have aligned. But to join me for this conversation today is Mr. Setumba, our economist here at NTV, to try to give us a clear picture of what is like in this lockdown. You're welcome to this conversation, Mr. Setumba.
You said economist, I'm a business editor.
Business editor, okay, we'll go with that. Now, Mr. Setumba, let's look at the economy before the lockdown. What do you make of the economy before the lockdown?
Starting around January, things started to be disrupted, what they call supply chains. Okay. And supply chains means that for industries, manufacturers, for instance, people who make iron sheets, the steel in which they add value to get your iron sheets, some of it comes from China.
True.
Then our traders downtown, clothes, shoes,
perfumes,
name it,
makeup, yeah,
that began to be disrupted in January. February it became worse. So by the opening of this year, after the festive season, things had slowed down there. But the year opened with this COVID big deal in China, and that began to interrupt or disrupt the world flow of goods and services to Uganda. So to answer your question directly, we opened the year with a disruption.
From the word go.
Even before the lockdown. So things started to be slow. We were doing the stories, you remember? We did those stories of traders complaining our stock is running out. And then we began business advisories of what should you do in case things run out. Before we knew, the virus landed. And of course, before Chamagero, tourism started being hit. People started cancelling.
Yeah.
And so now
flights and reservations.
Exactly. So the multiplier effect of that started to bite. As early as January, began to be very serious in February, and now the tourism sector is dead as we speak. It
came down for us. Now let's talk about Mwananchi, person like me, who is a farmer and have been supplying the hotels, possibly food for the tourists, and now they've been hit like that. Can we try to take this perspective down to the household income? How bad is this lockdown going to affect the household income and the modalities we've been running with as an economy?
Let's start with the household, which was supplying to tourism. Tomatoes, cabbage, all these agricultural foods, the foods. Those were cut off because if the tourism guy is not getting the cash, he can't pay you. Of course. Who's going to eat the food? So those were the first ones to suffer. Now we continue a little bit here in Kampala and Metropolitan. Things were, but so with downtown we were complaining, but we were still a bit okay. We were moving on. Now lockdown comes. Lockdown means even if you have some cash. Let me give an example. The hardware. Maybe you are constructing a house and you earn a salary. Yeah? Yep. Now you can't go to the hardware to buy cement. That means the workers on your project cannot earn money. The hardware guy cannot earn money from steel bars and cement. And therefore they cannot also buy and sell. The chain continues backwards. It's a cycle. That's just for hardware. Supermarket. There's a supermarket I buy food from, stuff, when I'm going home. Because I'm locked down, I can't drive a car. That guy is not getting money.
So you can't buy from the supermarket?
I can't buy from him. I have to walk to a shop near home to buy a few things. And the little money I have, I am being careful with it.
You're holding it so dear?
Yeah, because I'm not sure. I'm uncertain. So if you talk about household incomes, that's how the chain is being hit. Going. Yes. Well, we cannot spend as much as we want to spend because we are not sure. Now we are thinking maybe the president is going to say maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We're not sure. So we're saying, let me hold my money.
You're holding to it.
And in holding back the money, somebody else is not earning money, and because they're not earning, they're also not buying. And the chain continues like that. This is how the lockdown is, in effect, slowing down things.
it's affected a lot of things. Let's look at the business perspective of it. Do you think the lockdown has been a takeoff for the digital lens for businesses to be on digital, so that they can actually deliver in time, purposely to stay afloat in business? Alas, to all those who are not on, the digital lens before the lockdown, what do you make of the businesses that are on the digital lens and those that are actually off the lens?
I think those which are on, and here at NTV we talked about working from home. We're not the only ones.
Of course.
Most of the banks, people are working from home. One of the biggest complaints I've had in some suburbs of Kampala and the surrounding areas, Mukono, Wakiso, quality of network.
Yeah.
They're complaining, and some are saying maybe we use MiFi's because this other usual
data
is not working. I want to upload a document, it cannot go.
Oh yeah, because there are many people using the entire data.
Exactly. I don't think the telecoms anticipated this. On Sunday, just to download a few KBs of a picture,
it will take you.
It was
ages.
impossible.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the telecoms are waking up to the capacity they need to, up in the suburbs. Maybe they focus so much on the central business district here in town, but the suburbs have a lot of potential to consume data, as has been demonstrated this time. So working from home has been challenged.
Oh yes, via data.
But the business mind of these telecoms and other providers in the data area, they are waking up to that possibility, that potential.
Okay.
For instance, if you want to study from home, schools, it's not possible. You cannot do a Zoom meeting now in the suburbs.
But how are the neighbors holding up? The ones in Nairobi, I've seen some interviews where they're doing actually interviews and it's so flawless, it's going like it's uninterrupted. What are they doing better that we're not doing here? Or what kind of policy do they have with regards to data or digital lens that we're not doing as a country we should actually look at?
That's a very good question. I spoke to a friend in Kisumu. For them, they were having Zoom without hanging on video.
All through?
All through. Like 2.5 hours meeting.
Wow.
2 hours. You cannot do that here unless maybe you're using a MiFi. Why? Because our data quality is not optimum, and also it's expensive. That's why many of us will join the network and then we shall share the same bandwidth and things start to hang. But in Nairobi, Kenya, so to speak, the cost of data is a little bit cheaper than ours, and therefore the bandwidth is better. You can get a little bit more for less. The telecoms here have said that's because of our distance from the coast. That complicates our situation in terms of cost. And therefore I would think going forward, maybe government can do something about this by policy.
To
make sure we can get a good amount of data and
affordable internet.
Exactly. It can be done by policy of government.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would bring the picture much more better. Let's look at SMEs, Sam. Right now, SME, anyone who has an SME, whenever they are calling you, even the ones that are micro SMEs, they're just not sure what the future holds. Business-wise, employees are going to be chopped. Believe you me, 80% or much so. They're going to be salaries are going to be chopped in one way or the other for companies to stay afloat. How best can SMEs come back to food after this lockdown?
I couldn't say we can prescribe something,
but we can find something sketchy. Possibly, if this is done by government and the SMEs or corporations do this, possibly can have a clear pool and we all push in one direction. Maybe that could help.
I do not think help is going to come from somewhere in government. Actually, I do not think government has the money to give a package to anyone. Maybe government can do it by tax deferring, things like that. But even government, you see, it is hesitant on deferring tax because by doing that, it itself will lock down its own operations. Yeah. So government is between a rock and a hard place. So the SME, in my view, unless one was clever enough to thrive on reserves, maybe do half pay, maybe chase away some workers. Some SMEs, a good number of them are actually doomed if this lockdown is to continue. Because let me give you an example. An SME is a consultant. Let me say it is a consultant. He's supposed to go and to Kabale and do a number of
surveys,
consultancies with NGOs, with communities.
Yes.
And they had projected that between January and March, I'll make maybe 15 million, and then pay workers and then pay the rent.
Yeah.
So that can't happen now.
2 months you're home.
You can't travel, the NGO is not functional. So that opportunity to execute that contract, to get the money, doesn't exist.
It's done.
So what are you going to do? You, the manager or the owner of the SME, maybe you're going to have some money to buy food for your family. But are you going to have money for your workers to buy food for themselves?
No, you can't.
To some extent, NGOs which have a good reserve, not NGOs, SMEs which have a good reserve, might survive and start.
Again.
But a number of them, in my view, are doomed.
Were you convinced by the president's measures that he came up with regards to the economy? Especially the ones of Kenya, you had them, and many people were applauding the Kenyan president Uhuru Kenyatta about it. But our president here, he said, I quote, I'm in talks with the banks. We'll see how best we'll talk to the banks. And 3 days later, we saw a memo that came from Centenary Bank saying that they're going to discuss at the level of case by case to either give you more grace period to clear your loan or something. The same applies to DFCU Bank. Same for Stanbic Bank that said for 3 months, if you had a loan with us, we are going to pause until you're back. We can review that again. He didn't talk about any other issue. That was his statement. The president said, I'm in talks with the banks. Were you convinced about the presidential stand with regards to the economy? I know he loves the economy, but from where I stand, the statement he gave, it was not committing, it was not refraining, it was neutral there. What do you make of that?
Okay, the banks have issued a moratorium. I see ABSA saying even 6 months.
Oh.
For those who are affected by COVID directly, like transportation, logistics, and everything else. But that is not okay. That's policy. We can give it to but that's about loans.
Yeah.
How about those who are just fading away?
Thank you.
The president has been like, well, you remember the last time he addressed, he says, "Don't tell me about the economy."
Yeah. It's about
examinations.
Yes.
For me, I read it correctly.
Yeah.
He was saying, I am focusing on the thing. Let's see what happens after.
Anything.
He was managing expectations of anyone expecting some promise on the economy. He's telling you, no, guys, I am dealing with this animal here.
Yes.
So don't bother me too much with.
He called it a war.
For now. That's how I interpret it, and I don't have a lot of expectation on any big pronouncement on the economy, because does government have money? If you ask me,
we have been donating of late and all that. So looking at
unless before you ask, maybe unless government, as they had a discussion with PSFU, government can pay back some arrears. Debts
domestically.
Yes, domestic arrears.
Okay.
Maybe that is one direct injection that can help some. But a number of them will not be reached, and businesses to some extent, they are on their own. The sooner they learn that, the better.
They'll get back to. Let's look at this. The economy has been disrupted in one way or the other, but if you could advise the president, what advice would you give him, you as a business editor, what advice would you offer to revamp the economy after lockdown?
Experts have mentioned, and I'm not an expert, I tell you. So I'll quote what the experts have said, and I believe in it. Deferring tax, it takes grit from government. That means that government may need to borrow
more.
Borrow from somewhere else, maybe short term, IMF maybe, to shore up itself if they defer tax for those who owe it.
Okay.
That means that instead of paying tomorrow, we say you pay in 6 months' time, so you have a breather. That is delayed taxation. But whereas government going to get revenue, maybe they can borrow. The other issue is that issue of arrears. Yeah?
Yes.
If they can proactively, and the arrears, they have the list. It's 1 trillion shillings in arrears.
The permanent secretary minister of finance was very clear 2 weeks ago. He actually said that right now he's focusing on pension, salaries, Minister of Health and Security. Anything else can wait. He passed a memo. He said, if you don't fall in that category, please hold until when we sail to the other side of the sea. So do you see that in one way or the other helping, or it's just a timely mode?
When you pay salaries and pension, it's what they call recurrent expenditure. You are keeping money in people's pockets, so to speak. Just like companies try to, pay our salaries. You are trying to keep people spending. People buying and selling. So you're trying to keep what they call liquidity or money going around in circulation by keeping the salaries. You're trying to keep some money in the economy flowing.
Oh, yes.
Basic money to buy and sell, buy fuel and
keyword basic money.
Yes.
Okay. Well, our editor and investigator now joins this conversation, Emmanuel Mutaiziwa. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, Emma.
Good morning to you, Andrew.
Well, Emma, we're here having a discussion with Mr. Setumba here, but so far we are looking at 54 cases. What are we doing as a nation? How are we doing, rather?
Well, the arithmetic, first of all, I must commend the folks at the Health Ministry and the entire task force for a commendable job they are doing. 54 is quite a small number compared to what we are seeing in the region. And that means that we put in place meticulous processes, we put in place enough checks and balances. The lockdown is working fairly well. But then as we go forward, we are going to be able to gauge the proper situation. The other context is that numbers are largely dependent on the ability to test. So, for instance, if we can only test a few, then we don't get the complete picture. For instance, Germany has been testing about 80,000 people a day because they have enough testing kits. So the context is African countries will definitely struggle in that area because carrying out tests is quite an expensive venture, and it's only the Uganda Virus Research Institute that has the ability to test. And as you're aware, this very institution has been supported by the Centers for Disease Control in America to be able to set up these laboratories to be able to carry out these tests.
Well, Emma, I understand now, in a very delicate period of a lot of attention, if I may say, is now on how the media is handling this entire pandemic and how we are disseminating information. What do you make of the media's approach to the entire pandemic?
Well, a very good example is to borrow from the US Fox News, where you have a number of right-wing pundits that people seem to pander with what is said in Washington. There's an anchor who is called Trish Regan, I think, who's been suspended because of very responsible remarks. So in a nutshell, you require that during this very critical time, the media does a lot of circumspection, because this is science, this is not speculation, this is not theory, but you must have your facts grounded, you must be accurate, you must be objective, you shouldn't have any kind of sentiments that might bias you. For instance, like what the anchors at Fox News were saying, Sean Hannity and the others, about the fact that this was a conspiracy theory against the fact that this was some kind of plan by the Democrats to cause the stock markets to tank and be able to censure Donald Trump, which wasn't the case whatsoever. And this was purely a case of science, a pandemic, a very serious issue. So the media needs to pay attention. The media needs to get its facts right to be able to report objectively. Because now it's playing a very fundamental role, and it can also help reduce infections, reduce the number of people who are going to, unfortunately, be part of those that die.
Okay, Emma, do you expect a lockdown to be extended? And if you expect the lockdown to be extended, is it a good thing, or is it something we should worry about?
Well, I don't want to speculate, but generally what you've heard is cabinet from the sources. They talked about an extension of 3 weeks. I think the president who has the final say, so we'll come and listen to him. He's about to give his speech. But basically, the common sense question is definitely the lockdown has, borne been able to give us fairly good results. That the infections have been, controlled. So until we hear from him, it's safer to say that let's wait until we hear from him and what he has to say about whether it's going to be 3 weeks, whether it's going to be 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That is of course, our editor and investigator on NTV right here. We'll be having him a little later. Back to you, Mr. Setumba. Can the economy, after this pandemic, handle any other strain from what you've seen?
I hope there is no other strain, actually.
You hope?
I hope there's no other strain, because
Why?
What is there to handle? I mean, the resilience of the economy is stretched now.
Okay.
It is stretched. And remember, there's a good number of people. Remember, in the beginning, we said the problem came from January. And people were coming from the festive season.
Oh, yes.
So there was a slowdown there. And then in January, up to the point that Central Bank has predicted the economy, the growth will come down to 3 or 4% from 6.3%. Now that 2 percentage point there is a big deal. And this is an estimation. We hope it does go in that area. Mark you, growth includes new roads. When they make a new road, the value of that road is added to growth. So in terms of real growth, in terms of money in people's pockets,
yes,
could be less than that figure. The real growth in terms of money in your pocket,
oh yes,
could be a different issue if you remove things like infrastructure projects which are finished and added. If you remove that, the growth might be a different issue. So can the economy take another strain? I don't. I hope there's no other strain, because I think the economy has been stretched. You know, this issue of corona, it came on like a joke. Especially
Africans were rubbing it off the
people thought it was a Chinese issue, and then people are dying in China. Then before you know it, goods can't come. Before we know it, people are sick. Then we are locked down. SMEs are folding. People are losing jobs, no salaries. Markets, people don't make money. Taxis, you see what I mean?
Let's look at the pressure of unemployment after the lockdown. How can a nation wither through, and where are we going to get these jobs, and how long will it take the nation to actually get back on its feet and employs back all these labor force back into motion?
That's a tough question and requires maybe numbers and models to calculate. But I was thinking about that question actually before we came on here. And I thought what we're dealing with now is the momentum of economic growth for this financial year has been halted, so to speak, to a great degree. It has been halted, either in agriculture or in trade or in tourism. It has been halted. So once this COVID thing is done, you have to start a new momentum, and I'm thinking maybe 6 months to 12
to get back to normal,
for us to speak up. Because if supply chains are disrupted, they don't just awaken suddenly and suddenly you have your goods and services moving. For tourism, it will be next year. Tourism, it will be, if they are fortunate at the end of this year. Because I'll give you an example. The tourists come to Uganda having booked a holiday, a vacation. I've just been watching BBC and I think BBC, yes. And some entrepreneur was saying when people come back to work, they will have to work double for us to pick up again. So if those guys who come here for tourism are going to work doubly to make sure their economies arise again, that means they're not going to come here.
Low numbers of comers,
That's just one example. With the 700,000 people employed directly in tourism, that means the money there will take that long to come. Let's take taxis. Okay, maybe taxis will... Maybe we will travel again because we have no choice. That one may awaken, but the serious sectors that have depth will take a while to come back. National media, people were NTV, people were cancelling advertising due to this. They don't have any reason, but they said, you hold on.
But we can't even move.
So we have lost a lot of money during this COVID period, and yet the TV station is still spending money. All this fuel picking and dropping people. Ourselves, we are living in that situation. So this money lost, shall we gain it? No. It's money lost. So maybe we have to pick up now. Maybe, I don't know. Some companies have to borrow from banks to keep on going. So there's debt.
Let's try to look at, there is a video that was going viral online. I'm sure you must have had a look at it. It was a video where a Nigerian diplomat approached the Chinese authorities to make sure that he redeems some Africans who are taken away by Chinese authorities. Let's look at what Chinese are doing to Africans in China, and you look at the post-COVID relationship. How are we going to mend this? Because the videos are horrendous when you see what is going on online and how Chinese are sending more messages about what's happening. I saw Bobby Wine and other Black Lives Matter, of course, online, saying they've written they want to repatriate Africans in China. What do you make of the current situation of the China-Africa relations?
From my standpoint, I think the Chinese government should have been surprised a little bit at the response by African governments because of the videos that came out. We saw our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sam Kutesa, having a chat with the Chinese ambassador who gave him assurances. That Nigerian official who was in China, I saw in Kenya, and others are protesting. I think China is a strategic partner, rather Africa is a partner, strategic partner for China. And I don't think they would want to miss that relationship. Now, because of that. So I think at the level of diplomats already, there is talking. There is talking. And I believe because of the business, the big picture in business and economy, in terms of relationships between these two Africa and China, China will do its best to normalize relationships.
To just massage. They were
surprised at how these Africans
reacted
together.
Oh yes, absolutely. Let's look at the global recession. What I understand here in Uganda, Mr. Setumba, after COVID-19, property is going to drop. The prices are going to be selling cars, they're going to be selling land, because each one of us would like to actually reinvest in their businesses to stay afloat. Let's look at the global recession, especially in terms of economy, but back here in Uganda. How bad are we going to be hit?
Because we are kind of plugged into the global economy. As I said earlier, one of the sectors that shows us up in terms of foreign exchange will be tourism. So that will be hit for the next maybe 12 months or 18 months. To be slow until it starts to pick up. In terms of supply chains, yes, the disruption is not going to wake up suddenly. China is just beginning to get back in terms of production, which is a good thing. But everything in the middle, shipping lines, Mombasa port, the roads, now the border is closed and people are being checked severely. Truck drivers are protesting. All those disruptions, even if China wakes up and we can get our supplies here, that will take a few months
to
get back here. And in the meantime, the manufacturer cannot probably deliver on the orders
in time. True.
So recession means negative growth or no growth at all for
people holding their cash.
Quarters,
Everyone, if you go on the ground, when you interact with these local manufacturers and local people, each one of them is saying, I'm holding my money. People are withdrawing their money from the banks, they are holding their money in their homes because they're not sure. There is uncertainty and they're just waiting to say, now the lockdown is done. Believe you me, bonds, Facebook is going to be awash with people selling land, selling at a very, very discounted price, whatsoever the case is. But how bad does this affect our economy?
Okay. When land,
because I'm taking it as a Omuntu once, I really need to really bring it down.
When land prices fall, on the flip side, it can't be a bad thing.
Of course, to you who is actually selling, rather who is buying.
Because they will be, therefore, it is like a Kickstarter.
Okay.
Because now land is affordable. There are people who have their money, so they buy. So that low pricing of things will be Kickstarter.
Okay.
Other than keeping your land and no one is buying, and we are in the state of, it's called a glut, not a glut, crunch. We're in the state of crunch where everybody's holding their money. Here, by lowering the prices, money is being released. So that it can start flowing around. If that happens, actually, on the flip side, it can be a good thing. Where cars are sold. But overall, in the economy, once prices, land and assets prices starts going down, and they are buyers, that's what they call liquidity. Money starts to flow at that level. And before you know it, economic activity starts to be regenerated.
Oh, it accumulates.
But if I keep my money because I can't buy anything, it stays that way.
Wow.
And money doesn't move around. But
that should be the
But
one.
if I come to you and you say in your land, I give you money, you are going to be able to do something with it, and then the spending cycle.
The cycle starts.
You will start.
Be rest assured, Mr. Setumba, I won't sell my land. All right, Ugandans, this is how we're standing on a global scale. This is how the nation, rather the world, stands with regards to COVID-19. Globally, we are having 1,921,369 confirmed cases and 119,730 confirmed global deaths. So that is how the world is currently standing, and this comes from, of course, 185 countries, if I may say. That is according to the Johns Hopkins University grading. Here in Uganda, we have 54 confirmed cases currently. That's how we're standing, and we have 729 contacts of confirmed cases currently under follow-up by the government. And most of these, the president actually highlighted about them, that they're actually still following them. Then we have 5,664 samples of accumulative that have been tested already. And we have 7 recoveries. That is a win, 7 recoveries. These ones came through and they're actually now back to normal. They're back into community. And notwithstanding, 231 individuals under institutional quarantine and 1,302 these are cumulative contacts that were already listed. This is how the nation is standing currently, and we're telling you that please just stay home if you can. 573 contacts to confirmed cases have completed 14 days follow-up. So that means they're either negative or positive, but they're actually being confirmed. So that's how we're standing as a nation. I will still emphasize this. Please wash your hands for 25 seconds. And the trick is quite simple. Just as soon as you start to wash your hands with clean water and soap, just hum to the first stanza of the national anthem. That will take you around 25 seconds. Don't touch your nose, your eyes and your mouth. Please stay away from that, and let's practice social distancing. Stay away from people at least 4 meters, and let's just do the best we can do. If you are traveling and you're an essential worker, please practice social distancing or have a mask around you. That explains why me and Mr. Setumba, we are seated a few meters away from one another for purposes of social distancing. The head of state is expected to address the nation. It's currently 8 minutes past noon. We're expecting him to address the nation soon or later, but that's how the globe is actually standing. Mr. Setumba, what are some of the remaining vital functional sectors that too should be stopped?
That shouldn't be stopped?
Yes.
That should be stopped?
Yes. The remaining functional sectors that are too vital to be stopped in this current wave we are having.
No brain, of course, health.
Yeah.
And health does not mean only government.
Of course.
Government hospitals. It means also the private players. That's a good thing, because there money continues to flow in a reasonable way. Then the food processing sector, sugar, things like sugar, value addition, people who can add value to agricultural products. The problem with that is that I will think about oil, cooking oil, for instance.
Okay.
Is cooking oil able to move? The government has so far said if you're moving a truck of things, you can move. That was a clever move. Because then if I am moving products to be agricultural products to be added value to, it keeps in the factory,
the chain running.
Yes. Unfortunately, if I add value to cooking oil,
who's buying?
And I put it in the market.
Who is buying?
Yeah, there's a bit of disruption at every level. But yes, food is critical, health is critical, and of course issues like power, water, and those guys are making a kill because people are spending a lot of time maybe on TV and all this.
Don't you think that when it gets to issues like especially the economy, don't you think some things should be free? Like electricity by now should actually have paused, possible as well with the national water, and they say, you know what, but the other day I got an invoice from National Water saying I have to pay. These are basics people need on a daily. Don't you think government could possibly have come through and say, look, this is what we are going to do?
That's an ideal situation where you have your water for free, but it's not going to happen here. Why? Because, for instance, for power, umeme, there are all these contracts which are signed, and they are premised on certain revenues flowing. And this is one of the times, domestically speaking, where women will make a lot of money. Unfortunately for the industry, it won't make. Remember that when a certain amount of power is expected to be consumed by agreement, if less is consumed and less money is collected, government has to pay women. That's how the agreement is. Wow. So some of these things you cannot just play around with them. They are inked in contracts. Think about water. Or think about why don't they reduce the cost of water? And that would be including something like removing VAT. But considering that the economy is kind of
on a low,
slow, one of the areas of making money actually in indirect tax is VAT on water, because you are consuming a lot of what?
Because
water.
you're at home, you're staying at home, you're using a lot.
You're going to pay VAT. That's going to help somehow government to fill in the gap where taxes are not coming in. Yeah, so that's one reason why I would see government hesitating
to run this way.
They think you will manage. They think you will manage if you are not going to the bar. If you're not going to a chivulu, if you're not going to all these parties,
yes,
you have some money. You has tap water, so you can pay for the bill. That's the
thinking. Let's look at businesses, like now that you've talked about events and the likes, before we go to the donations, because there was an assumption this Saturday morning. We had an interview with Honorable Mary Karoro Krud Businje, and she said that the gesture by Ugandans donating in millions, in billions, in kind and all, it showed that somehow the economy is, is the way he said, the Minister of Finance the other day. But what do you make of the donations, this gesture? What does it paint to you?
First, who is donating?
Multinational companies, and
those ones have breathing space. Maybe that's their CSR money which they were supposed to spend around this time.
The CSR
money budget, and they say
media budget.
Yeah, where do we cut? We're not advertising. We're not doing CSR. Let's give to and the guys they should forgive me, but I'm just thinking
200 million.
Yeah, 200 million, 3-month budget if you like. I'm not doing advertising. I'm not doing CSR. So let me give to government. It's a good thing, but I also look good for my brand. After that CSR. Only that now it's designed to COVID. So I couldn't get too excited about that. It's not a measure of how we are doing. After all, who is the economy? Who is the economy? Is it only those guys who are donating?
The private sector.
The economy goes down. Who is needing food? Who is driving taxis?
It's the vulnerables.
Hey, who is driving taxis? Who drives the special?
It's us.
Yeah. That's the lower end, the real economy. The people who drive buying and selling. Those are the real ones. Those are the guys. I was on a group recently, and people there on the group were collecting money to help other members on the same group, WhatsApp group, who did not have enough. Yeah. So even at that level, giving is giving. We cannot use the giving rate. So,
no group they were giving.
No, they were giving to other friends on the group who are not doing well.
Oh yes.
Kind of like their small CSR on that group, which was a very good thing.
I should join that group.
Just caring because they are all busy. But what I'm saying in a nutshell, I don't think we can use that as a parameter to tell us what's going on. Yeah, we cannot dream that because some companies, a number of them, how many are they?
When we get back, we're going to look at the food distribution and how it has been made. We ran a story yesterday of how some people actually want to trap up the LOC chairperson because they're waiting for food for too long and it was not coming through. We're going to look at the modalities they're using, and let's look at the real events that possibly earn per week. Those are the events, the weddings, the decorators, the sound system and all that. When we come back, we'll take a break for now as we wait for the presidential address today.
We have something to show you.
Mr. President?
didn't know you and Holmes were stopping by.
He's not here, just me. Could we talk privately?
Finally! I've been calling you. You've been avoiding my calls for days, Gael.
You do realize that by killing this woman, you've made Shinpei's case for asylum that much harder.
What are you doing here? I have come here to do some business with you.
NTV wants you to join us on an epic journey.
Congratulations on averting World War III.
Forget it, Andrew. It's over.
Catch the most iconic moments.
Miss Miranda, Senator, there's an emergency.
Stay back. Don't come any closer.
Hold on.
Experience the best in entertainment.
Get down, Madam Secretary.
No, wait. Vincent Keller!
Who is she?
Take your hands off him!
Award-winning international series.
Excuse me, the man who died in this room. Was there anybody with him when the code thingy went off?
Open the door.
I would like you and your president to back our claim for the islands publicly.
Most watched Ugandan drama series.
Do you know where my husband is?
That is my uncle!
So?
Have you forgotten that?
Come on, Rach. It's not like I'm going to get married to that guy.
We're going to Asoma. Where are you going?
They don't ask a woman such questions.
Don't get left behind.
Who are you? Please forgive me for intruding like this.
What are you doing here?
I want to become a monk. Oh, just look at the precision.
Get the best TV experience from Uganda's leading entertainment destination.
Dude, do I have to do magic to keep up with these looks? Come on.
NTV, turning on your world.
Go extreme.
Hey there, did you touch money today? Your car door? That taxi seat? Perhaps the elevator? Mouse and keyboard at work? Shake hands with a friend? Your phone? You need Skin Guard hand wash, soap and sanitizer. Stop for a second. Look at your hands. See them? They have approximately 150,000 germs. Germs are everywhere. But here's the good news. Use Skin Guard antibacterial hand wash, soap and sanitizer to wash your hands, front, back, between fingers and in your nails. Stay safe with Skin Guard.
You too can play like a champion and win amazing prizes off the page. Simply buy a 300ml glass bottle of Pepsi, check under the crown, and what you see is what you win. You can win phones, radios, sodas, t-shirts, and redeem your prizes from any Pepsi depot countrywide. You can also send a unique code to 7888 to win instant airtime daily or stand a chance to win up to 5 million shillings in our weekly TV draws. Pepsi, the official sponsor of the UEFA Champions League. Pepsi, for the love of it. Terms and conditions apply.
Every day, I read over 50 passengers on these streets. Twalina olunaku lumu nali nerabidde nti abantu 6 babatwala mu ddwaliro lwa casualty ya boda boda nga bafunye accident. That's why I preach to the rest of my border riders to ride careful on the road, follow traffic laws. Every life matters. Wannange tweddeko.
This message was brought to you by Viva Energy and NTV Uganda. Tonight on NTV.
Господин президент, вас срочно вызываю в зал заседаний Совета Безопасности.
We just took down a Russian MiG, Mr. President.
Safe to say we are engaged in a shooting war with Russia.
We're enforcing a no-fly zone.
We just took down 2 more MiGs, sir.
I think our message is being received.
I met a guy.
And you were coordinating with CIA. Why would that change?
Things are fluid. In case you haven't noticed, we're in a war.
Well, I noticed that we crushed the Russians at Mariupol based on the intelligence that Dmitry provided.
After what we all know you did to Moscow, my people are not afraid of you.
Apologize or no deal.
Tonight on NTV.
News is breaking all the time, and all the time you want to be in the know. Wherever you are across Uganda and around the world, NTV has all the news covered for you.
Welcome to NTV Tonight. I'm Arnold Segawa.
For credible, reliable and comprehensive news delivered to you first and fast, tune in to NTV.
Welcome to NTV Tonight.
Watch NTV Tonight daily at 9 p.m.
You're still with us on NTV Uganda, and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation from the different platforms. I can see many of you are following the conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. As we wait for the president, just to note, the presidential address has been pushed to 1 p.m. So we're going to be having this conversation, and you can be a part of it on our digital lens. That is NTV Uganda on Twitter, and on Facebook it's at NTV Uganda as well. Well, joining us for this conversation is the Director of Programs, that is the Uganda Dead Network, Mr. Julius Kapwepwe. Happy New Year, happy Easter, and it's an honor to have you again.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
Mr. Kapwepwe, you as someone who is at the forefront of fighting the debt, let's look at Uganda. How are we faring with the debt, with the lockdown?
With the lockdown, certainly the situation can only get worse, obviously. And at perhaps a number of layers. The public debt or sovereign debt layer, that's the debt that government contracts on behalf of you and I, the citizens of this, the inch of this country. Then the corporate debt, institutions like banks, like universities that need loans and have been running on some loans, say, to run the operations and also take shape in two new developments, technological, physical infrastructure, and otherwise. But also the household stroke personal debt. At household level, we said let's go to Mwami Kaizi, borrow some 2 million shillings. On the basis of this prospect, we will be able to pay back in 4 months' time. The situation, on the basis that we had thought would have our maize grains exported through to Kilifi in Kenya, for instance, or in the Turkana area if I'm from, say, Teso area in Uganda, that is not going to happen in spite of the good weather on ground. So that's the household. But also actually the personal debt as a subset of household, that you are a working mother or dad and at this bank X in town, Absa, since